Uh, you were 33 years old when you committed this crime?
Yes, ma'am.
Because we kind of see this kind of thing with youngsters, teenagers in their 20s, but you're 33 years old and you're working. So how do you end up shooting and killing somebody? What was going on with you? Was it simply the alcohol? Or help us understand how a 33-year-old, presumably mature person ends up shooting and killing someone.
Let's take a blast to the past, 8/29/2022, with the classic board, my favorite panel, and watch this commutation hearing, see if they are going to commute his sentence from a life sentence without the possibility of parole to recommendation to the governor to give him the opportunity at parole. Now, they were still using a potato as a microphone, so my apologies in advance for that. Let's jump in.
All right. Good morning. Good. Pardon board is reconvening this morning at Louisiana State Penitentiary. The time is 10:41 a.m. Today is Monday, August 29th, 2022. Would the staff at Angola please introduce yourself for the record?
Deputy Warden Rochelle Ambo.
Reginald Labrador, classification.
Taylor Grafton, classification. Carmen Shipley, offender records.
Great, thank y'all. And our first case is Mr. Irvin.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number, please.
Joseph Irvin, 130175.
All right, Mr. Irvin, let me introduce the pardon board to you. My name is Cheryl Renatza. Seated to my far left is Mrs. Bonnie Jackson. My immediate left is Mr. Alvin Roche. My far right is Mr. Pete Freeman. To my immediate right is Mr. Tony Mirabella. Mr. Irvin, let me just let you know we've got some folks who are here in support today. You have the Parole Project. Mr. Kerry Myers will be speaking. Your niece, Ms. Irvin, will also be speaking. And I see you have your sister there with you, Ms. Walker. She's indicated she'd like to speak. We do have some opposition here this morning. We have here with us in Baton Rouge, Anita Young, Chandra Young, LaWanda Wright Castro. All of them will be speaking. Also present is Albert Young. First, I'll read some identifying information into the record. I'll ask you to confirm it, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Mirabella. Your case has been assigned to him. He'll take the lead on the interview. And then at the conclusion of the interview, we'll hear from everybody who's indicated they'd like to speak, and at the very end, you'll be allowed to make a statement before we vote.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so you are Joseph Irvin. Your DOC number is 130175. You're here this morning seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in February 1997 in the Walls Parish for a second-degree murder conviction, and you were given a life sentence. Mr. Irvin, is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mirabella.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Irvin, my name is Tony Marabella. I'm going to be asking you some questions today. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Irvin, how old are you, sir?
59.
How long have you been in prison on these charges?
26 years.
Tell me exactly what happened back in 1976. Tell me about the crime. Tell me the facts of the crime that got you in prison today.
Two friends and myself one evening were riding, and one of the guys got into an altercation with another guy by the name of Ray Mason. And upon the two men starting to fight, two others joined in, one James Draper and one Miguel Collins. And upon the fighting, I noticed Mr. Draper had a 40-ounce beer bottle in his hands, and he hit Mr. Honoré upside the head with the beer bottle. At this time, also I observed Mr. Wright, the deceased, went to the trunk of his car and retrieved the tire tube and came back and engaged in the fight as well. And he attacked Mr. Honoré with the tire tube.
What did you do?
At the time, sir, I was still standing at the truck, what we were riding in. I never got involved in the actual fight.
So why are you in prison? You didn't do anything.
Sir,
Why are you in prison if you didn't do anything?
well, sir, I guess by being there, guilty by association, I would say.
So you
But-
never confessed to killing?
Yes, sir, I
Any-
did. Yes, sir, I did. Yes, sir, I
that a
admit
lie?
that I did. Sir,
Telling me lying? You lying about that?
no, sir. No, sir, I admitted.
No, what did you do? Tell me what you did. You said you were just standing there. You had a gun?
Well, yes, sir, I did. And what happened
Where'd you
was,
get the gun?
what happened was at the time that the fighting was ensued and Mr. Wright came up with the weapon, there was another gentleman that came up by the name of Danny Mason. And he attempted to break up the fight. And the victim turned on him and attacked him with the weapon and chased him away from the scene. By the time that he chased him away, the other three guys were still fighting with Paris Honore. And during this point in time, no one knew where the deceased victim, Mr. Wright, was at this time. Again, I was still standing at the truck. The incident had somewhat subsided. And by the time that we got ready to get back in the truck, I happened to notice Mr. Wright coming around the truck with the weapon. He was in a swinging motion, sir. And it was at that point that I acted. I fired the weapon.
Where did you get the gun from?
The gun was already with me. I had the gun, it was a gun that
You
I
had
had.
a gun. You saw a fight going on and you had a gun. Was your weapon drawn?
No, sir, it wasn't drawn at the time. Now,
Did you go to
the
trial?
victim came from.
Guilty.
Sir,
Did you go to trial or did you plead guilty?
I went to trial. I
Did you
went to trial.
testify?
Sir?
Did you testify? Did you tell the
No,
jury
sir,
that
I never testified. I was advised by my attorney not to.
jury found you guilty?
Yes, sir.
How many times did you shoot the victim?
Once.
Tell me what kind of courses you've taken or what programs you've taken while you've been in prison.
I took anger management, 100 hours.
I don't need you to look all those things up. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's go back to the night of this incident. Were you drinking?
Yes, sir, I had a beer. I had drank a couple of beers, in fact.
And did you have any kind of drugs? Were you using
No,
drugs?
sir, no drugs.
Did you
But
ever use?
in the past, I have smoked marijuana.
What were you drinking that night? You said you drank a couple of
A
beers.
beer. Well, I was drinking beer.
The police report indicates that you had a gun and you repeatedly fired that gun. How many times did you fire that weapon?
One time, sir.
Was anybody else have a gun out there?
There were other shots being fired, but I can't pinpoint anyone with a weapon.
Was alcohol at all involved in this crime?
Yes, sir, it was.
Tell me about, what do you mean by that? You said you had a drink, a beer or two. How was alcohol involved in this crime?
All three of us had been drinking. We were riding around and we each had beer because when we left.
For how long did you drink that day?
It was more like that evening. It was like that evening.
How much did you had to drink?
I had about 4 or 5 beers.
How long had you been drinking? Do you consider yourself an alcoholic?
Well, yes, sir, I can because I was drinking.
Then,
Sir,
did you consider yourself an alcoholic then?
yes, sir, I would say that I was because I had more than one beer. And
Well, an alcoholic is not a person that drinks 2 or 3 beers or 4 beers, even 5 or 6 beers. An alcoholic is a person who is addicted to alcohol, drinks it regularly, and can't basically stop drinking alcohol. They're
Yeah.
addicted to. Are you an alcoholic?
Yes, sir. I drink pretty extensively. I drink more than one time a week.
How often were you drinking?
At least 4 or 5 days per week, sir.
How much would you drink?
Till I get to feeling good.
What sort of classes have you taken to help you with your substance abuse?
I've taken.
I don't want you to be looking at your record. I just want you to tell me from what you recall, what you've taken having to do with drinking. Said you didn't do much drugs, you smoked some marijuana, but tell me what you've learned about alcohol and how you won't go back to drinking alcohol, how you can satisfy me that you're not going to go back to drinking alcohol and something like this happening again.
Yes, sir. I've taken substance abuse, and during the duration of taking those classes, I really learned the triggers. I really learned the impact that alcohol can have upon your thinking capacity.
Tell me the triggers. What are some of your triggers?
The cravings to get a drink, and feeling comfortable after drinking 4 or 5 beers or so. You know, it kind of would mellow me out. Whereas without it,
cravings might be one thing, but mellowing you out, I don't know if that's a trigger. A trigger is something that prompts you to go drinking. Cravings, what kind of cravings do you have for alcohol? What kind of cravings did you have for alcohol?
Cravings that would make me want to go and drink, sir, because it's like without drinking, got to the point where I didn't feel like myself without having a beer or two. Even after work, first thing I would do is stop and drink a beer or two. And, you know, I didn't stop at 1 or 2. I would drink more than 1.
If you were to get out of jail in the near future, what would you do, or what is your plan to make sure that you're not going to go back to drinking?
Well, sir, if I'm fortunate enough to be released, I would seek counseling, 1, and I would take other classes if need be, such as alcohol, substance abuse, or whatever, to really send my life in a better direction and channel my life in a better direction. And I think that, sir, I think that would be my objective, is to
Are you
take
familiar with the
counseling.
12 steps?
Sir?
Are you familiar with the 12 steps, Alcoholics Anonymous? Are you familiar with that?
Some of the steps, sir, not all of them.
Or have you ever gone to AA meetings?
No, sir, I hadn't taken them, just substance abuse.
So you've only taken one, living in balance, is that the only one that you've taken, basically?
So far, so good. So far, substance abuse is whatever the curriculum was there.
Let's talk a little bit about your disciplinary record. You've had 7 write-ups since you've been in prison?
Yes, sir.
Tell me what kind of work you've done while you've been in prison.
Well, the job that I'm on now, I've been having this job for like 12, almost 13 years. Maintenance, groundkeeping. Takes care of a lot of the front areas, the main areas up front. And I've been there for like almost 13 years. You know, that's pretty much the job that I've been doing.
What's your plan? Where do you intend on living if you were to get out? Where are you going to live?
Well, my primary living plan is Parole project, if I'm fortunate. My secondary plan is with my sister, Miss Brunetta Walker, and Mr. Taylor Walker. They already have things set up for me for the job. My brother-in-law, the job he's on, he's a supervisor. And he and I have always gotten along real well, and he's willing to open his heart and his home to me and to help me to retransition and get back on my feet.
What kind of work would you do when you get out?
Well, sir, I think that I wouldn't try to be too choicy. I just would like to, get gainful employment where I could pretty much take care of myself and get me a new start. And I kind of would, work my way from there.
You've taken victim awareness. What do you think your crime, what effect do you think your crime has had on the family of the victim, of Mr. Wright?
It has a considerable impact, sir. And I realize what they feel of losing a loved one, because I've lost loved ones. And I know that my actions have affected this family, the community, my family. A lot of people's lives are affected here. And I'm truly
Taking anger management, cage your age. Tell me what you've learned in that.
in anger management. I've learned to take control of my thinking capacity. I've learned to realize that other people's lives are just as important as mine. I realize in anger management that sometimes we allow our emotions, our thinking to get the best of us. But anger management has taught me so many things on how to reach out on my thinking and how to have respect for my community, for my family, and for this state as a whole, the laws of this state. And there were so many things that I've gained from anger management until this, it's amazing.
And you've taken a lot of the faith-based programs, Novix, New Orleans Baptist Seminary.
Yes,
Tell me
sir.
about programs you've taken there.
In that particular class, the curriculums were making peace with your past. And I've learned to find a better me through my faith base and to get in tune with that larger side of me, that better me. And through these classes, I've learned to know that there's a power greater than me that I have to submit to. And submitting to this power has given me the abilities to make better decisions and to have more respect for my community, for my family, and just to be meek and humble in my daily approach.
How far did you go in school before you came to prison?
10th grade, sir,
You got your GED while you've been in prison?
while I was here.
And did you do any other educational things? What other things have you done while you've been in prison in terms of education? Any other trainings that you've had?
Yeah, I worked at the tag plant, and I received training over at the tag plant as a tag spotter, as a presser, and I received certificates in those areas too. And plus, before coming to prison, I used to operate machinery. I was a heavy equipment operator. So
So when you came to prison, you were 33, I believe. Is that right?
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
You were working regularly then?
Yes, sir. I was a logger. I was a lumberjack.
And how long had you been doing that work?
I had been doing that work about 3 years, when the construction work subsided and started to not, be much construction work. I took a job in the woods as a logger.
One more question about your alcoholism. How long have you been, before you came to prison, how long had you been drinking regularly like you described? How many years?
It had been like a couple years. My drinking had really kind of started to increasing, honestly.
Warden, what can you tell us about Mr. Irvin?
Not much. Everything that he said is true. As far as his classes, he's waiting to be put in victim awareness, and he's currently enrolled in Thinking for a Change.
He's currently in Thinking for a Change?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Madam Chairman, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Mrs. Jackson. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Irving. How are you doing today?
Doing fine, ma'am. Thank you.
So you were 33 years old when you committed this crime?
Yes, ma'am.
Because we kind of see this kind of thing with youngsters, teenagers in their 20s, but you're 33 years old and you're working. So how do you end up shooting and killing somebody? What was going on with you? Was it simply the alcohol? Or help us understand how a 33-year-old, presumably mature person ends up shooting and killing someone?
Ma'am, the answer that I give to that is living a counterproductive lifestyle, hanging out with the wrong people, being in the wrong places at the wrong time. And I think that that's pretty much the answer that I can give, ma'am.
I always say you choose the people, you choose the places, and you choose the time. So those are all on you. Would you agree with that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
When I was looking at your file, the thing that you had 2 prior convictions for burglary, one in 84 and one in 89. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, it is. Yes, ma'am, it is.
Had you ever served time in prison on either of those, particularly the second one? Have you ever served a prison sentence before this crime?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
And how long did you serve?
Well, I had a 3-year prison sentence, but I've done 18 months on it.
Okay, and that was from the 1989 conviction?
But the 1989 conviction was the one, yes, ma'am, that was the one I did the 3 years for. Yeah, the 3 years, 18 months.
Okay. You're currently enrolled in Thinking for a Change?
Yes, ma'am.
I did see listed a living in balance, but when I was going through your packet, I didn't see any certificates for completion of living in balance. Do you have those?
Yes, ma'am. If that's the same one from the anger management,
No, living in balance is totally different. It's a substance abuse class.
yes, ma'am. I do.
Oliver Jackson, yes, he does. He did finish Living in Balance, part 1 and part 2 in 2015. So he should have,
2015.
yes.
Okay. Well, for some reason I didn't see it in the packet, and I saw that you completed 100 hours in 2017. Is that correct, Mr. Irwin?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And how long have you been in Thinking for a Change?
I'm in middle of it. I think we have at least 4 weeks left. I think 4 weeks before completion.
Okay. And tell me again about victim awareness. Did you finish that, or are you on the waiting list for that?
I'm on the waiting list.
Okay, so you haven't taken a whole lot of programs over the last 26 years. Can you tell us why that is? I see a lot of gentlemen who have a lot more classes under their belts, a lot more participation. So why haven't you been more active during your 26 years?
Ma'am, the only answer that I can have to that is at the time when all my appeals had become finalized, post-conviction became finalized, and I somewhat was feeling a little hopeless and didn't understand whether classes would help me or not, being honest with you. And I think what happened was I started seeing a change in the prison system. The doors had started to become open. And it was at that point, I felt that I needed to get on board and start getting involved in something and line up with something. But prior to, these last few years that I've been involved in the classes, that's been the thing. I felt a little bit helpless, I wasn't no one leaving.
Dan. So, of the programs that you have taken, which ones do you think have changed you or benefited you the most?
The faith base has has had a great impact in my life.
Why? Tell us why.
Well, it allowed me to revisit my spiritual side, and it allowed me to mature more and to reach for that better me, and to find that better me, to get in tune with that better me. And the anger management, it was a great class. I learned a lot from it, how to control my anger and how to think before I act. The one that I'm currently in, Thinking for a Change, it has made a tremendous impact on my life because
What you learned so far?
Ma'am,
What have you learned so far that's really been helpful to you?
that thinking controls your action. Everything starts in the mind. And there was a saying that so is a person thinketh, that is he. If you think negativity, then you're going to attract negativity. And I that's my part and my reason for wanting to change my thinking. And I believe that a person, if he could change his thinking, he has the power to change his life. And that's my sole objective, to change my life, to be that better person, that better me.
If you could say something to the victim's family, what would you say to them?
I deeply regret what happened. And I ask for their forgiveness. I'm remorseful. And I have taken the time to put myself in their position. I have lost loved ones, my 17-year-old daughter, my father, my mother, and I know the impact that losing a loved one can have on a person. And again, I'm truly remorseful, and I take full responsibility. I'm accountable for my actions. And I did from the beginning, I do today, ma'am.
I thank you, Ms. Irvin. That's all I have. I appreciate talking with you. All right. At this time, I don't see any other questions, so we'll hear from the folks in support. And first, we'd like to hear from Ms. Walker, your sister. Ma'am, we'd like to hear from you.
Good morning. My name is Bernetta Irvin Walker, and I'm the sister of Joseph.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you, I know we can't hear you. We need to get you a little closer to the microphone.
You switch seats with your brother. You can switch seats with your brother.
Y'all can switch seats.
Let your sister sit there. Good morning. My name is Bernetta Walker, and I'm the sister of Joseph Irving. And I just would like to say on behalf of my family and I would like to extend my apologies to the victim's family. I know that no amount of time served can replace or make up for a loss of life. I know that Anthony made some really bad choices and that resulted in his consequences of his actions. He's been in prison over 26 years. And at this point, I would like to see him home. I feel that Joseph has been rehabilitated and be a productive and law-abiding citizen upon his release. Joseph has always shown remorse about the action that brought him into imprisonment. Joseph had made considerable positive contribution while incarcerated, and I foresee him doing the same as he reintegrated back into society. My family and I are in full support of Joseph upon his release. We have a loving home, bed, food, and willing to help him with a job and prepare him for transition into society. My prayers have always been with the victim's family. As his sister, I am committed to see him flourish and succeed, and ask that you all will please grant his parole today. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Joseph. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your remarks. We'd like to hear from Parole Project, Mr. Myers.
Good morning, Kerry Myers, Louisiana Parole Project. I think Mr. Irvin's prison history can be summed up by stability and a person who understands how to obey rules. He's had 7 disciplinary write-ups in his entire 25 years, the last in 2007. He's been at the same job now, as he said earlier, for more than a decade. He certainly has the support of Parole Project, and he has the support of a loving and caring sister and brother-in-law who will provide him with housing and employment. He's still at an age where he can work. He has taken programs. I think he was very honest when he said that he had lost hope, and he got that hope back. And when you get hope back, that changes things. That changes everything about your approach to life. And that, combined with his spirituality, has made Mr. Irvin the person he is today. And so I'd ask this board to consider those things in recommending him for clemency today.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Keontae Irvin?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Joseph's niece, and I would like to say that our family would love to have him home. It's been about 26 years since he's been incarcerated, and out of all those years he's been incarcerated, he's never once had anything negative to say. He's always remained positive and expressed how remorseful he was about what he's done in the past. And I think he would do really good in society if he was granted parole. And again, on the behalf of myself and my family, we would like to send our deepest apologies to the victim's family. That is all.
All right, thank you so much. So now we'll hear from the opposition. They're here in the room with us. You can get first from Mr. Anita Young. You can step up to your podium, please.
Hello, my name is Anita Young, and I'm a civil rights older sister. We are not far apart in age, and we made plans that we children. Great things. When we both stumble along the way, we both learn from our stumble. Steady was in school studying towards his career to make a better life for himself. Sadly, their life was tragically taken away from him. By the gentleman who is asking for the freedom to live his own life. To that, I say he is living. He is living. My brother is not, because of the decision he made on that day. My family was broken. My mother passed away with that broken. My sister and I will one day pass away their way, the same way. We cannot forget those memories of my brother in the hospital without a fighting chance to live because of the decision that man made on that day. Whatever is the reason should be considered now. We can't beg the court to give Cedric back to us. But we will, with our broken heart, we can and will ask you that this man serve his entire sentence and deny any opportunity to release priority that day. We thank you and we pray our request is granted. Another thing I want to say was, he was talking about the tie too. My brother was shot in the back of his head. He was standing on the side of the building. He walked to try to stumble. A lot of people out there, I ain't know what was going on. I went out there, and the best thing you know, they said, Cedric has been shot. I said, who? Cedric has been shot. So I went over there, my baby brother laying on the ground, pool of blood. Then it took me the thing I had to go tell my mother that her son had got shot. And that hurted me to the fullest because I'm the oldest. And it hurts to day, it will hurt us forever. Forever. We have to go to a grave to go and see our brother. He's still living. They can see him. It hurts, just like it just happened yesterday.
Andrea?
Hi, my name is Champion. I am the David Bright. David Bright was the only father figure I had in my life. At 6 years old, that's who I looked up to. That's who used to read me bedtime stories every night. So whenever he got killed, when I was in the first grade, after he got killed, all I did was cry. Scream. My mom had to come pick me up every day. I went from being a straight A honor roll student to failing the first grade because I grew so hard behind him there. Like it took me very, very hard with his death. My whole family, he was the only male figure we had in our family. So with that being said, yes, I think he should serve out his full sentence. And that's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you.
Wanda, do you want to speak?
Wanda, right? I'm this baby sister. I'm a teenager in high school. My brother killed. I was also pregnant. My oldest child. The day before my brother got shot, he asked me the name of my baby after him. He wrote his name on his paper, and he said Draco. But I ain't naming my child. Out of all my mama children, my mama had 2 girls, 3 girls, and 1 boy. I was closest to my brother. And I was the little tomboys when I was young. And I wasn't able to go to court. Didn't get to go to the funeral, say goodbye to my brother. Somebody that he took from me. And I would never get to see him again. My children would never get to know him, their uncle or me. And my brother would have made 49 coming September 8th. He would have been 49 years old. My brother was 2 weeks from graduating from CNA school when he was killed. My sister and my mom was invited to the ceremony. And they had a black ribbon where he was supposed to sit for his graduation, for his ceremony of becoming a certified nursing assistant. I do think Mr. Irvin should serve his full time for taking life from someone else. He still has his life. His family still gets to see him. Even though he's in prison, they still get to see him. They still get to hear his voice. We don't get that. My family does not get that. So I think he does deserve the sentence he was given. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Irvin, is there a statement you'd like to make to the board? If you'd address your remarks to the board, please.
Yes, ma'am. Person I was 26 years ago, I'm not that person today. My thinking capacity has changed, and I've taken this time to find that better me, which has also allowed me to make the needed changes in my life. These changes have taken root from a place deep within me, and has given birth to new ideas, new concepts, new attitude, and a whole new outlook on life. I would love to have been a lot of places during the 22 years of my incarceration, but I wouldn't take nothing for this experience that I've gained during my journey. I'm now equipped to be an asset to my family, to society, to this great state, and to the community in whichever community that I reside in. From the bottom of my heart, I'm deeply and sincerely remorseful for my actions and take full responsibility. Lord knows I'm not a murderer or vicious person. For someone who has made a terrible and painful mistake that has caused considerable pain on the family, that my actions has changed the lives of this family forever. I know it has. And if I could take it all back, I wouldn't hesitate. Unfortunately, I can't. I know that my negligence has caused this family, and likewise my family as well, pain and suffering. And again, if I could just take it all back, I would. And I found peace in the midst of this storm. And I remember a quote that came from the late great John Legend. He said, "Let there be peace in the world, and let it start with me." And this is, my daily life now. I just want to live in peace, and hopefully that the family, I understand how they feel. I understand. And again, I'm deeply remorseful. And if I could take it all back, I wouldn't hesitate. I really would. This was never my intentions. It was never my intentions to cause any harm or hurt to anyone. And as, I explained earlier, I never got involved because it wasn't my fight. I had no intentions of going there to fight with anyone. It was a situation that transpired and it got out of hand and someone lost their lives. Again, I take responsibility for that. I'm accountable. And I'm remorseful. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir. I think we're prepared to vote.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll start with Mr. Marabella.
First off, I'd like to thank the victim's family who is here today. I appreciate the courage it took to come here. It's obvious to me that you were still suffering the grief that y'all have gone through. I just want to thank you very much for being here. And that certainly is a factor that goes into my decision, as well as all the members of this board of partners in making that decision. Mr. Irvin indicated that you are forceful. You talked about how you wish this wouldn't have happened. In my long career in law enforcement, it's very, very clear that alcohol, drugs, and guns don't mix. When something like that happens, there's going to be danger. I wrote in my notes, because you made the comment, I'm not a murderer, I'm not a bad person. I'm not here to tell you that you're a bad person, but I'm here to tell you that you are a convicted murderer. You are, and you have to live with that. Jury has found you guilty of murder, and that's what you're in prison for. We talked earlier about all of the exhausting all of your appeals. You exhausted all of your appeals. You now sit in prison as a convicted murderer. You need to accept that because that's what you are. You took a man's life. You caused horrible pain to the victims in this case. Having said all of that, looking at what you've accomplished while you've been in prison, you've got an excellent disciplinary record. You've had 7 write-ups in the 26 years that you've been in prison. You've taken some good programs. You are currently taking some good programs. You recognize the fact, I think, that you're an alcoholic. I don't believe that perhaps you are as much aware about your alcoholism as you need to be. I think there are more programs that you probably need to take having to do with substance abuse and alcoholism. You have a low risk law enforcement opposition, however. You have obvious victim opposition we've seen today. But the things that you have been able to accomplish while you've been in prison are notable. You've been in prison for 26 years. My vote today would be to recommend to the governor that he commute your sentence to 99 years and make you parole eligible after you have served 30 years. And in those next 4 years, assuming you get that vote, I'm only one vote. But I would strongly encourage you to take substance abuse programs, a long-term substance abuse program to teach you about your alcoholism, to teach you how to be able to control your alcoholism when you get out of prison. So that would be my vote today, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. Mr. Brady.
Mr. Irwin, I agree with Mr. Marabella about guns and alcohol. They just don't go together. You know, you may not have left the house intending to kill someone, but when you start drinking and things get out of hand, that's the first thing you're going to do is grab that gun. But my vote is the same as Mr. Marabella. I'll grant commute to 99 years, but with parole eligibility after that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mrs. Jackson. All right, Mr. Irwin, I've listened to you. I think you have accomplished some good things to do. But as I said earlier, I just didn't feel like you've taken all the programs that you need to take. And I want the victim's family to know that I don't take your pain. I do. But our job is also to look at what you have accomplished, what you've done with yourself. We've only had 7 write-ups in 26 years. We've had people with over 100 write-ups. So it's not taken for granted that a person behaves appropriately during incarceration. But I do believe that you also need some more programming. And so I will concur with my colleagues and vote to recommend the commutation with parole eligibility after having served 30 years. And I concur with Mr. Marabella that there's some more work you need to do, and that you take advantage of every program that the department offers, because there's some very valuable programming available for you. But my vote today is to grant a commutation for 99 years with parole eligibility after having served 30 years. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Roach.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good morning, Ms. Irvin. How are you?
I'm doing good, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Irvin, I will be quite frank with you this morning. I don't think you interviewed this morning very well. You didn't answer Ms. Marabella's questions. You skirted the truth. Like you said you're not a bad guy, you were not a murderer. And I agree with him. You may not be a bad guy, but you are a murderer. And I don't think you told us exactly how it happened this morning. And it's the day of reckoning. It's the day that you want to tell this panel exactly what happened. And I don't think you did that this morning. And 26 years is insufficient time for taking someone's life. You have strong opposition from the victim's family. The entire legal community is opposed to the judge, the DA's office, law enforcement, and you need additional programming. And I'm not going to vote for you until you get that additional programming, because I think you have an alcohol problem and you have not solved it yet.
Yes, sir.
My vote for it is to deny your request.
Thank you, Mr. O'Shea. Mr. Irvin,
Yes, ma'am.
I do think that you, I enjoyed the interview with you. I enjoyed hearing you talk. I really was touched by everything the victim's family had to say. I think you have some more work to do, but I would concur with Mr. Mirabella's recommendation that your sentence be commuted to 99 years with parole eligibility after having served 30. We give you some time for the programs we're all concerned about. And I think one email can help you get enrolled in those. So you've received one unfavorable vote, 4 favorable votes. So we'll make the recommendation that you have to Governor Edwards that your sentence be commuted to 99 years, and that you become parole eligible after having served. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
So there we have it. They recommended that his sentence be commuted. They recommended that, and the governor, this was 8/29/2022, and the governor did sign it. So we're going to fast forward to November 30th, 2023 to see his parole hearing. The victim's family shows up again. So we'll see if anything changes. But I do like to see that Mr. O'Shea came in and, laid down the facts. The guy didn't take accountability. He even in his final statement said, "I'm not a murderer." And they all said, "Well, you're a convicted murderer. You went through all your appeals." And on the appeals, usually when there are appeals, we have records to go through, but we don't have anything in this case. So I actually can't unpack it the way that I would like to. I'm not 100% sure why Richard couldn't grab these appeals, but we couldn't find them. And it's, the way that he describes it, he really describes it as just kind of, being in the wrong place in the wrong time, there being some type of altercation, almost like a manslaughter. Should it be life? And it just doesn't seem that way from the victims. It seems that he went and took his life in a fit of rage, in the back of the head type of thing. And the jury saw it that way too. What's interesting though is seeing Louisiana standards are so much at such a different level than the other states that we see on Channel Mandu 2, where we just saw a parole hearing in Iowa. I don't know if by the time you see this, if you will have seen it, but of course it takes place in a Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know why so many bad things happen at Chuck E. Cheese. And a mother takes another mother's life in front of her little children in a fit of rage with a gun. And she's getting paroled, I think 6 years later is her parole hearing. And you just compare this to other states and other scenarios, and you might say, wow, I mean, he's been, they're saying parole eligibility after 30 years for an incident that is just not as vile as so many that we have seen. And I know that there are those that will look at it on that side and say, well, but the side that I always look at it on is, I think the side that Mr. O'Shea looks at it, which is, are you taking accountability or are you still in denial? If you're stating these things of how it went and how, and then how it makes the victims feel, it just has a lot to do with it. But that's why Mr. O'Shea is there as the victim's advocate, and now Ms. Stapleton replaced him. But let's go jump into the next parole hearing and see if there's any change in his story, if there's any shift in what happens, and if they actually do grant. Let's go.
Joseph Irwin, DOC number 130175, third class offender, parole eligibility date 8/1/2021, good time 11/13/2044, full term 5/7/2095, 99-year sentence, second degree murder. And you had a commutation of sentence by the governor on August the 1st. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
How old are you, Mr. Joe?
60.
60?
60, yes, sir.
How many years have you been incarcerated?
Nearly 28. Next month on the May would be 28 years, sir.
Okay. And what's your current status there? Are you a trustee? What do you do?
Yes, sir. Class A trustee, Camp F.
And what kind of work you do there?
It's I forget the name of it, but I cut grass,
You cut grass?
Groundskeeper. That's the problem.
Groundskeeper, okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How long you been a groundskeeper?
Since 2009, sir.
So you've been doing that same job since 2009?
Yes, sir.
When's your last disciplinary write-up?
2004, 2005.
Okay. And so just briefly tell me about the, why you there? Tell me what happened.
A fist fight ensued between two friends of mine and some other guys over in the Central Louisiana area in the East Boulevard project. And as the fight was ensuing, they had several individuals involved in the fight. And I wind up, killing a man, taking a man's life, sir, as a result of that fight. It was two friends of mine that got into it with I went into it with another individual over on the Central side, the Central Louisiana side. And as the fight was ensuing, several others joined in the fight, with ballers and so on and so forth.
You had a gun?
Yes, sir, I did have a gun.
And you just shot indiscriminately, or you shot at somebody in particular?
Yes, sir. It was the victim who lost his life, sir. I shot him as a result of fear, and it was so boisterous out there that day, and it's just things got out of hand, sir. And
Did you know him?
Sir?
Did you know him?
Not personally, but I heard about who his family was after my crime had taken place.
Were you on drugs or alcohol or anything there?
I drank. Yes, sir. I did drink. Yeah.
Did you have a drinking problem?
Well, at the time, but prior to getting involved in AA, I didn't think I did because I was living in denial, sir. But I was recommended by the board to attend AA, and I have, sir. So it's at that point I realized that I was living in denial. I was an alcoholic.
How long you been involved in AA, NA?
Since September the 3rd, 2022, sir.
So what are your plans? Where are you gonna go? What you gonna do?
My first plan, sir, is the Parole, Louisiana Parole Project. I've heard so much about the programs there, and I would love to further assist myself with the program from here to there, because I just believe that the programs will help me to make a successful transition back into society. It would help me in all the areas that I need help.
So then where are you gonna live? What kind of work you gonna do?
Well, at this point, sir, I have people in my corner. My sister's husband, Mr. Taylor Walker Jr., who I listed as my job plan. He works for a tanking company. He lives in Marrero, Louisiana. He has assured me on several occasions through visits that all I need to do was just, get there. Once I'm there, he would make sure that he assists me in every area of my transition to have a job. And plus, I believe that Parole Project, with the programs and the facilitators that they have there, they are desired to help in every areas of my life. And plus, I have friends over at the Jerry Lane Enterprise, and failing is just not an option, sir.
Do you have a GED or high school diploma?
Yes, sir. I have a GED. I earned it here.
And I see you've taken a whole lot of classes. Taken a lot of classes. Anything in particular that's really been beneficial for you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Victim awareness is one of the main classes that gave me the tools needed to identify with other people's feelings and put myself in their shoes and feel what they're feeling as a result of the crime that I committed. To show compassion, consideration, to be a giver and not a taker.
Do you have some children?
Sir?
Do you have any children?
Yes, sir. I have one daughter left. I had two kids. My youngest kid died as a result of an automobile accident in 2007. And my oldest child, she's here today, Miss Willow.
Right. Okay. Warden, you have any input for us?
And he alluded to the fact that he cuts grass for us, and he does. But being a Class A trustee, he's all over this farm cutting grass for us. He's put a lot of miles on a riding mower for us, continues to do that. You know, 7 write-ups since 97, since he came to us. We've not had any trouble. He's been a good productive worker for us.
Right, thank you. All right, we'll hear from, let's see, does anybody want to speak there? Let's hear from Carrie Myers first.
Good morning, Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. We're here because Mr. Irvin's sentence was commuted to a term that made him parole eligible, and Parole Project supports his parole and his transition. We're prepared to provide him a full range of our services, including transitional housing while he is going through the classes, financial literacy and financial education, technology, the things that someone spent 28 years in prison are absolutely going to need when he gets. He'll have peer support. He'll have support in every way that we can provide. Make sure he has all his documents. We'll make sure he's ready when he leaves Parole Project to go to his permanent address. And as you can see, he has a host of support there. We know that he'll be prepared. We'll also continue our case management of him while he's there. Our case manager in the New Orleans area will continue to work with him once he is there. And we just asked this board to grant his parole today.
Right, thank you. Now we're here, 2 of you guys can speak there on his behalf. Mr. Irvin, any 2 of y'all want to speak? Does Miss Teresa Wheeler want to speak, his daughter or sister? The 2 of y'all, whatever 2, go ahead. Just give me your name and go ahead and make a statement.
My name is Renetta Walker, and I'm Joseph Irving's sister. And I'm the one that live in Marrero that he's gonna come and live with me after his parole project. And my husband is gonna help him assist in finding a job. And I feel that Joseph has been rehabilitated, and you know, I'm gonna be there to support him every step of the way. And my heart goes out to the family. They have my deepest empathy and sorrow to the family. Just want to say I'm sorry.
All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am, thank you. Who'd like to speak next? Anybody else like to make a statement?
Anyone else?
No, okay, all right, go ahead. That's okay. All right. Now we hear from Ms. LaWanda Wright. Ms. LaWanda, would you step up to the podium and make a statement?
One of them.
Sure. Yep. Go ahead. Miss Anita, would you like to go? Or Chan? Either one. Just introduce yourself up there to the podium.
So I'm Anita Young's Cedric's older sister. And he made a birthday September the 8th. He would have been 50 years old. When he got killed, he was in school, 22 years old, in college, engaged to get married, had a future, ahead of him. And this man took my brother's life. And if they put themselves in our shoes, they will see. I mean, they let everybody out of jail, this and that, whatever. Drug dealers or whatever, but somebody kill somebody for nothing. Then you're a coward because you shot him in the back of his head. All I got to say.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Would Ms. Shander like to make a statement?
I am, Cedric's rights, yes. He was the only male figure that we had in our family. So he was the one that pretty much was like a father to me. I took his death really hard. I failed the first grade because of it. Because all I would do is cry after they went from straight A honor roll student to failing the first grade. Because all I would do is cry. I suffered a great deal over him taking my uncle's life. My grandmother, everybody has really suffered from my uncle's death. I also, as I got older, because I'm in my 30s now, but when I was younger, I had one of his friends actually come up to my job and told me how they talk to their friend all the time, and basically their friends want to get on how they go in school. That affected me. I called my mama crying. As I got older, I have worked in law enforcement. I was bailiff for a judge in judicial court. I worked for him until he retired. I really believe in the judicial system, and I would like to see justice being served. This man sat here the last time we were here and lied. He's just getting full credit out of the last time that basically was here. He didn't even have any. So he's just getting that done. Then he also lied and just now by him saying that he was fighting with my uncle. My uncle was just an innocent bystander that went back there to go visit a friend. Just got out of school, was a week away from graduating college, gonna get married and everything else. It was nothing like he said it was gonna, like it turned out to be. I mean, I already know how the system goes and how the whole process and everything goes. But all I just wanted to say is I hope justice be served to him. I mean, I know I can't talk to him, but no, it's not forgiving, because when you took that life, you also caused pain on our family and your family. We have to suffer because we can't make a phone call and talk to him. Our loved one is gone forever. His family still could talk to him. That's the difference. And I mean, I had to come in and come speak for me and for my grandmother's sake, because she's deceased, and it's something that's been bothering her for a long time. You know. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Mr. Judge, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and speak to the board.
Yes, sir. I'm deeply remorseful for the crime that I committed. And I wish I had made better choices and decisions. And I believe that given a chance going forward, I will make better choices and decisions. I realized that the crime that I committed, it created a lot of pain upon innocent people, pain that they didn't ask for nor deserve. And I'm truly sorry for that. I'm remorseful and I take full responsibility for my actions. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, down the vote. Mr. Joseph, yeah, it's again a bad situation here. I want to thank the victims for being here and being a part of this process. I know it's been difficult for you guys. Mr. Irvin, you've done a lot of work. You've put a lot of time in. You've been a trustee for a long time. You been in a good comments by your warden. It's a bad situation. Again, every case we hear is bad. There's no good case here, and I know it's difficult. Our job is to kind of see what you've done in the time that you had, and not getting a write-up or just a few write-ups in 29, 28 years is impressive. You've been a trustee in the same spot for, again, since 2009. My vote today would be to grant your parole to the Louisiana Parole Project. I want you to have a curfew from 10 p to 6 a. I want you to attend NAA 2 times a week. No contact with the victims. And I'd like for you to do community service 6 hours per month. Again, just one vote. That's my vote for today. Ms. Renata?
Mr. Irvin, I voted for you last time. I vote for you again today. My vote is to grant you parole to the Parole Project Transition Plan. You have a low risk score. You have positive remarks by the warden and a good prison record, and with the same special conditions as Mr. Kelsey. Good luck, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Irwin, as stated, you do have a good disciplinary record, good classes. The only thing I would like to add, besides no contact with family, I want you to stay out of Evalds Parish.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do not go back to Evalds Parish. You gotta go through Evalds Parish, let your probation officer know I'm going through, make sure you got enough gas, you don't have to stop. That's my
Yes, sir.
vote.
All right, 3 votes to grant your parole. You understand stipulations, you'll get a copy of them. 3 votes to grant today, your parole's been granted. Good luck to you.
Yes, sir. Yep. Okay, no problem.
You know what really sticks out to me the most here, and who I just don't miss at all, is Brennan Kelsey. He literally, like, he he basically just shuts off the victim who's in the verge of like tears and just says, okay, ma'am, thanks, ma'am. And it didn't seem that he, you know, it seemed like she had more to say. He just shut her up, and even if she was done, he didn't take no empathy, nothing. Like, you know, it's just, there's something wrong with that man, in my opinion. And she's there in person talking, and he's been this way forever. And for those of you who aren't familiar, I know I've said this many times, but his qualifications of being a parole board member is he's a physical therapist. That's all it is. That's all he is. He has his own physical therapist, like, shop. I don't know if he's retired now, but that's what he is. And there's like language in the law that sets what requirements you need to be a board member, and being like a doctor of any kind allows you to be a board member regardless of what field it's in, which it includes physical therapy. And I've always speculated, I don't know the answer. I'm like, wow, he must have been the governor's physical therapist. Like, how else could it happen? Now, I think that Brennan Kelsey is great for parole revocation hearings. He has like a sort of pace that gets things going and moving. He's got like a sense of humor. He's got like a certain type of, but for things that where it comes to such magnitude, like a man getting paroled out of murder, and there's family there who are still hurting, he's just awful and disrespectful and really just terrible. There's something wrong, in my opinion. It's just, you can't, like, he doesn't even fake it. Like, where's the humanity in it? I just don't get it. And this is probably the worst. You know, certain board members, they kind of when they're together, and to have Renata, Freeman, and Kelsey on the same board, the only worse board than that is when you have Jim Wise and Mrs. Wise and together. That's a nightmare. That's worse than this. That's just a nightmare. And I guess you can then have, man, I actually avoid that board. It's so bad. But that's just because you have 2 board members that really aren't paying attention at all, and it's just a disaster. With the internet connectivity problems, the cell phones, but they granted, and the only information I have is that he's still out. He hasn't been revoked, and you know, you tell me how you feel about this. He spent a long time in prison, but his story didn't seem to change. He just kind of said, hey, two buddies fighting, whatever. And I cannot stand, we have the problem even more so today. It's like bringing a gun to a fist fight is just, and, but he's out, and you tell me, I know there's a lot that would say, well, he served a long time and it just wasn't that kind of crime that he should serve more than that for.
All right, well, there you are. Sir, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number. Y'all are still on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Claude Boel, 627151.
Yes. 627151. Yes, sir. So let me read identifying information and then we'll get started on the parole interview. Ms. Stapleton will be taking the lead on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Boel, how do you say it?
That's right, Boel.
Boel, okay. Mr. Boel, you're classified as a fourth felony offender. You're currently serving a 20-year sentence. You have various sentencing dates, starting in 14 for third, operating vehicle while intoxicated, 2018, fourth offense, DWI, and then let's see, then you were revoked. You were placed on probation in 19 for another fourth offense. You have your parole eligibility date is May 1st of this year, 2024. You have an adjusted good time date, which is June 5th, 2025. Is that information correct, sir?
Everything's right, ma'am.
All right. Would you answer Mrs. Stapleton?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Boel. Well, you've heard the charges. They're extremely serious and they're extensive also. I don't even know why I need to ask why all the DWIs and everything. I just want to say that there's extensive law enforcement opposition. The judge that was involved in this case, the statement that came from them said, why would we do it? Why would we release you just so you do it again?
I've actually, at that time of my life, I was going through a lot. I went through a divorce. I lost my kids. In the divorce, I had a lot of stress on me at the time. I've never been this clear-headed in my life. I've went 5 years without any substance of any kind. I've educated myself inside. I've also got my high school diploma inside. I've also completed 6 certificates, graduated the SALSHAP program. I've never been this clear-headed in my life. I've worked at Champion Home Builders for going on ever since I've been here building homes. That's my trade. I'm a carpenter. I've lost my father the last couple of years, and I've also inherited that company that I will take over when I get home. My parents are waiting on me to return to take over the company. My mother is very strong in faith, and so am I. The Lord has granted me another chance, and I've strived to do better, and I see that I have done better. Things that I didn't even think I could do. I taught myself trigonometry. I got my high school's diploma. In the process of doing that, all these classes that I've done and everything that I've done since I've been down, it's really showed me that I can actually do something with my life, and I've done a lot. At that time that I was going through these DWIs that I did, as you can notice, that I did most of them in the same area, the same year. I was going through a divorce with my very love of my life, and I had very stressed with my 3 kids. And I was very angry, and I was having a problem with alcohol a lot at that time. And I'm truthful about that. And I pled guilty to my charge immediately. And I pled guilty to the DWI because I knew I was wrong. But I think I've done my time, and I'm ready to show that what I am capable of.
The year, if I'm correct, Well, you tell me, what year did that happen in, that all of this, just to make sure that I'm right here.
Year that I got the divorce or the year that I got the DWI?
Right. Well, you were saying everything happened at the same time as a result of one.
All of it happened to me in 15, 16, and 17.
And so you were brought to court and charged maybe in 2019, is that when?
Yes, ma'am.
2019. Children, you have children?
Yes, ma'am. I have 3 children, one in college, one finishing high school, and my 14-year-old little baby girl.
Okay. And y'all are in communication and in a good place, you and your children?
Yes, ma'am. Now, they've come around the last couple of years. They were very angry at me at the beginning of my jokes for leaving them. And, you know, it's understandable. My older children were. My younger one, she's always been more adapted to me, but my older ones are kind of, you know, the older you are, the vendetta, they was kind of angry at me for going to jail for DWI. But now they were at when I got my high school diploma, my mom and dad, you know, when they came to the facility, you know, we've been back together for the last couple of years, talking in good faith and everything.
Well, that's wonderful, Mr. Bowell. You know, alcoholism is a problem that millions of people suffer from. And it is an ongoing problem, just as though if it was heroin or cocaine or anything else. So I know that it is a huge struggle. The problem is with the DWIs, you can kill somebody on the road.
Yes, ma'am.
Heroin and cocaine, you might kill yourself, but the DWIs, you kill other people. So I know that would be a huge problem for law enforcement or for a judge or something like that. Something like this were granted and then you relapsed and then somebody lost their life because of it. So that's an issue. But I do see though, like you said, where you've really worked hard and you've got oil and you've taken victim awareness and just all the good programs that you've applied yourself to. And it's really good to hear about that. So I'm going to let my other board members speak now.
Thank you.
Okay, what are you doing at the facility now?
I work at Champion Home Builders. I build trailer homes. I've been building that for quite a few years. I actually run my department. I build.
How long have you been at Champion Builders?
2 different sessions, 3 years.
Okay,
May.
all right, and how much money you have put up?
That I've kept here. I've sent a lot home, but I got about $3 grand.
Okay, and how much have you sent home? Just give me a wild guess.
I've sent home probably $7 grand over the time I've been down. And I've because I bought my daughter a car for college and stuff like that.
Okay. All right, one concerning thing, you had a write-up back in 22.
Yes, sir.
Number 28, aggravated work offense. What happened? What was the
Yes,
deal?
sir. Oh, well, I had switched jobs from Champions. I worked there for over a year and a half. And they got me into the high school diploma. So I had to start a job to work at night to where I can go to school during the day. So I did that and I went to the Golden Nugget and I worked there for a year because I had to teach myself trigonometry to get the high school diploma. They didn't have that when I was in school. So I learned that and got my high school diploma.
Mhm.
But they told me I could go back to Champions to making my good money. But they said that the boss told the warden that I was too good of an employee and he would not release me. So I went to work and told him that I wanted to quit the job to where I could go back to Champions to make my good money to save to get out. And he said, okay, you can. And then when I went back, they said I wasn't allowed to quit and I got wrote up for quitting my job and they put me back at Champions, but I got a write-up for quitting.
Okay, how much you make at Champion?
I make $14 an hour.
Okay, I have, no further questions. By the way, congratulations on your GED. I can tell you're proud of it, and you should be.
I am kind of proud of it.
Yeah, I agree. You should be. So you lost 30 days with that write-up. 30 days a good time?
Yes, ma'am. But I think I had like 2.5 years of good time, but yes, ma'am, I think so.
You know, once you remain 2 years write-up free, you can ask to have that restored. You know that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And you mentioned, taking over your family company. What kind of company is that?
Oh, I worked there 17 years, roofing and remodeling additions. We built homes.
Okay, good. And you mentioned, to Ms. Stapleton, your drinking problems seem to extend further beyond 15, 16, and 17. Because I see, your first arrest was in 2012. And you have, well, I quit counting at six arrests for DWIs. The last was in September of 19. So, yeah, you have quite an extensive.
I did.
Yes.
I did. But the only thing I say about that is I've never been without drinking as long as I have in my life than right now, 5 years. And I've never been this clear-headed. I think I agreed that I needed this.
Probably
And
saved your life and the lives of other people, I would say.
most certainly, I was going through a hard time I'm telling you, with my wife and the divorce.
Yeah, but that went back, I'm saying that, I mean, you're always gonna have hard times. You're always gonna have issues you gotta deal with. But it wasn't just divorce, because obviously you had the problem, you had arrests dating back to 2012. But we'll move on. Ms. Cook, what can you tell us about Mr. Bowell?
Well, we've had no problem ever since that last write-up that y'all was talking about. That's the only one the last one was in there. He goes to work every day. We've had no problem with that. There's not no more write-ups or anything like that. We've done pretty good here. And everybody seems to get along with everybody. Everybody likes him, so he's done good.
Well, good deal. Thank you. Mr. Bowell, anything you want to say to us before we vote?
No, ma'am. God bless. Thank y'all.
All right, thanks for that.
We're going to executive session.
Yeah, we have a motion for executive session and a second by Mr. Freeman. Can you call the roll?
Cheryl Knopfler.
Yes.
Steve Freeman.
Yes.
Carolyn Sager.
Yes.
Mr. Bowell, we're going to be in executive session for a few moments to discuss confidential matters. Stand by. We'll be right back.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, let's hope so.
Oh, so.
Hi, Mike. I wonder what they're really talking about. These cases, they're tough. But I could basically hear Mr. Mirabella shouting through the screen. Man, I miss him. I needed just to hear him. He would always dig in and say, well, what do it's something that I didn't hear them ask. I didn't hear them. Did I miss it? Was I spacing out? Did they say, well, what are you going to do if you get out? What are you going to do to keep your sobriety? What are your plans? Are you taking AA and NA? What programs are you going to do on the outside? And it could be I was just spacing out. I do that sometimes, but I don't recall that being brought up. Isn't that interesting? And if there's any time it should have been brought up. Did I miss it? You know what? I'm just doing this. I'm not going to go back and check. You'll tell me in the live chat, right? Maybe I'll hear it for a second time. But yeah, we have one article that Richard found about this case that I'll pull up for you. Thank you, Sir Richard. And he found two articles, but they're a little redundant, so I'll just share one. And while we're waiting for them to finish their executive session. Fifth DUI. West Monroe man is facing multiple charges DWI Saturday, according to the arrest affidavit. He was 33 at the time. Officers Bowles' right tire. Okay, WMPD officer saw Bowles' right tires leave the roadway and go up on a curb as he turned right into the store parking lot. When the officer made contact with him, he had an eye open, mostly full. Yeah, he had. Oh, they're back. They're back.
Back in session, it is 10:49. We're prepared to vote. Mrs. Stapleton will be voting first.
Mr. Dowell, first of all, I want to tell you, we're all very proud of you about the GED and all the classes you took. That is no small matter. And God help me, I don't think I could learn trigonometry at this age. So I know that that was hard. And I know that you're applying yourself. At this time, I'm going to deny your parole due to extensive law enforcement opposition, but you've got a good time date that is, as I see it, June of 2025. So it's not too far away. So keep up the good work that you're doing and keep your focus so that when you get out, we don't ever see you again and you have a good rest of your life with your family. That's my vote.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman.
With the criminal history, I concur and I vote to.
Ms. Boel, I do agree. I'm concerned. I'm really proud of the work that you've done and the good things that the facility there has to say about you and the things that you've said and that you're doing well. But because of the opposition that's been expressed, my vote today also is to deny. And you had the write-up, and that was less than 2 years ago. So good luck to you, sir. Keep you focused. Keep working.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that conclude? That concludes our business at Southwest. So we're going to sign off at 10:50. Thanks for accommodating us today.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
I might have cut out a little bit too early, but she said as he was leaving, I told you, them people are hard as the new board. The new board is different. It's quite interesting, but it's a new governor, tough on crime type mentality. And we have, I think, seen more denials than what we're used to. So back to the article, his face, he looked like a sad puppy dog, but it's like, it's one more year. And I know it's easy for me to say from here that one more year will feel like an eternity, but he's also at work release. And a lot of the DUI guys end up in work release. Some of them we have seen make over $100K a year. Now, from what I've been told, once they're making that kind of money, the DOC takes a certain percentage of it every day to pay for the room and board. So it's not like they're just profiting purely, like in terms of the inmate. It's not like they're making money and having food and board taken care of. But the offshore guys can make over 6 figures easy. He's obviously not doing that as a clerk, but so when the officer made contact, he had an open, mostly full bottle of beer. It was mostly full, as he didn't drink it, right? Per the report, the suspect's speech was slurred, his eyes were bloodshot and watery, and he swayed as he spoke. He told the police officer that he consumed alcoholic beverage prior to the stop. He also performed poorly on a standard field sobriety test. The suspect was transported to Monroe Correctional Center, where his blood alcohol level was 0.203, which is quite a lot. According to the report, he has 4 prior DWIs arrested in the state, including 3 in 2012 and 1 in 2014. 3 in 2012. He was on probation for the 3rd conviction until 2020, and his license was suspended at the time of the stop. He was booked. Okay, there he is. Looks quite different, huh? And I'll tell you, I don't feel bad for him. And I'm frankly concerned when he gets out in a year. I didn't hear anything that would make me feel comfortable. I didn't hear them add any stipulations like when he gets out, he would need to be on a bracelet, and we have seen them do that in the past. I remember there was this one guy who refused to take programs. He wanted to stay at work release, and Mr. O'Shea said, okay, you think you're so smart? And he laid down the law. When you get out, you're going to have to wear a bracelet. You're going to have to go to X number of AA programs. They set up so much for this guy because he refused to leave work release to take programs before he got out. And they just didn't do that here. Like, wow, it's great you got your GED and you learned math. Am I wrong? Scary. What happened? What happened to making sure that he won't just get on the road and kill someone? Anyways, with that, move to the next one. I'll let you go. I'm not sure. You tell me. I feel for the family. And with that, I'll let you go.